to experience puts a spotlight on Antwerp's creative scene. No physical edition this year, but we made you something special.
I'm inviting you to the first ever online edition of D.A.T.E Talks. Antwerp, a city that has brought us weekends full of joy, thanks to the thousands of venues, clubs, DJs, and surely musicians. And now, let's talk music. I've got three key figures in the Antwerp music scene with me. Hello, I've got Hans Machiels, aka DJ Murdock. He's a DJ.
I am.
In the drum and bass scene, because you're the man behind
Correct.
Rampage, the biggest drum and bass dubstep festival on the globe. Is that something I can say?
You can say that. Yeah.
Okay.
You can say, I'm not going to stop you.
Perfect. We've got Lola Haro. You're a DJ as well. Yes. You have your own show on Studio Brussels. You play all over Europe in times of non-corona. You've been elected as Red Bull's Electropedia's most promising artists. That's quite something.
Yeah,
so,
and after not a long time. So
that
came really out of nothing for me.
Okay, yeah. So I think we have something to talk about today. And I've got Nikolai Pascual.
Yes.
An Antwerp music connoisseur.
If you say so, yeah.
I'm going to say it. You grew up behind the cash register of the US Import. One of the biggest USA Import is one of the biggest Antwerp record stores, of the most legendary record stores Antwerp has ever known. Mm-hmm. You have your own radio station. It's called WeAreVarious, of one of the founders of WeAreVarious Radio. And you work in 2 restaurant bars. Yeah. You own 2 restaurant bars? Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. So you know Antwerp, the museum bars. Yeah. Okay. So you know Antwerp quite well, and the weekends and the nights and the days and the night times. Yeah. We're going to talk about music. You're also going to get some live music by 3 electronic wizards, Borokov Borokov. They're going to play a set. You'll see what the Antwerp festivals have to offer, and we're going to take a look at Wally's Groove World. But first of all, Antwerp, it's a city that's known for its music for decades now, I guess. We talked about USA Import. People who don't know USA Import, it was a record store. Mm-hmm. But why is it a record store that people still talk about to this day?
It grew like this because of the continuous in and outgoing of people that came in, that were involved in music, that were producers, organizing parties, labels. In brief, you could say that there was the 70s. I think they were really important. There was 1,000 records that came in from, for example, the movie Saturday Night. Uh-huh. Fever. My father went to the movie, the theaters. Yeah. He said to the guys, hey, let's make a deal. You buy a ticket and you can come and get the records the day after for 50%.
Okay.
It was 1,000 in 2 days sold.
Yeah.
These little things happened all the time in the 70s, the 80s. They organized the DMCs, the disco mix clubs. Mm-hmm. The scratch events, the world editions, Belgian championships, they had all these producers. They organized live shows with disco bands, delegation, and then you had a big Antwerp promoter, Boogie Boy, who had James Brown, the Parliament. Yeah, they all worked together. And the same thing happened in the 80s. Where you had all the wave culture, then you had the new beat culture, and then you had the 90s.
So things that Antwerp always had this vibe of people looking for new music and helping each other out. Because Hans, you're not a newbie in the scene as well. How did you experience, let's say, Antwerp 20 years ago on music level?
I think you'd say Antwerp 20 years ago. That's when I entered Antwerp, because I was in Brussels before that. And I entered Antwerp via one of the squats. A very infamous one. It's called Squat Scheldapen. It's a place that was outlawed. Yeah. It was unofficial, but it was one of the best places to party from my point of view. And it was a place that allowed for underground music to flourish. And as I was involved in electro music, jungle and drum and bass back then, that was a perfect place for me. Yeah. And I started exploring Antwerp from there onwards. Yeah,
a gathering of outsiders, so to say.
Yeah, most definitely proper squatters. Yeah, Antwerp was an interesting place. Obviously long before that, but in my experience, that's when Café d'Anvers was happening. A few years later, you had a couple of clubs in Antwerp downtown that started transforming and allowing for different kinds of music to be played. Mm-hmm. And not long afterwards is the V voor 12 organization that started one pop-up club after another, eventually ending up in Petrol Club, mm-hmm. which was like a milestone in Antwerp nightlife, especially for the kind of music that I was involved in.
Yeah. So a lot of new things popping up all the time. It happened, as you say, in the 70s already. Mm-hmm. In the 80s, we've got something in Antwerp that made Belgium world famous. It's the New Beat. Mm-hmm. Can you give us a little insight on how the New Beat happened?
Again, it was a force that was happening. Something people were exploring, trying. Like the Scheldhapen were for our generation. There were these little clubs. There were the DJs. It was in the 70s the same thing. It was in the 80s the same thing. And yeah, there's this famous story, of course, of that one DJ that spins the split-second record too slow on the 33
instead of 45. Put it on 33. Yeah.
And this was then the new beat. Basically, that's it. Okay, then you have all these other stories. Okay, a long time before there was already new beat happening in Belgium, in Antwerp, in the more underground scene. This was a mid-underground scene, let's say. It went bigger. That took 5 years to make it bigger. Yeah. The top, everybody was on it, and that's where the world
got to know Belgium and the new beat scene.
Beat, what's happening.
Because in the 80s, you had these different DJs that had their own club nights, that had their own venues where they played. Like the venue you talk about that this guy put the record on too slow.
You had the club owner as well.
Yeah.
And so the club owner came also to the shop. He bought a collection for his club.
Okay.
Even the AB or the La Roca, these owners bought that same record, and the DJ was next to them. Yeah. With his money, he earned some DJing, and he was like, okay, if you want to buy it yourself because you play sometimes in another party,
then you have to buy it yourself.
I buy this one because you're going to play this one for my club. And that was also, a club had an identity, which stopped somewhere. Yeah. I mean, if every DJ came in and do his thing, then the club gets something different.
Yeah. Lola, can you imagine how it is that you might have a residency in a club and they have your bag of records?
No, for me it sounds a bit weird. Yeah. But sometimes I wish I was born in these times, like in 70s, 80s, because I think partying and clubbing, it was so different than now.
Yeah. But that's the thing, back in the days, and if you say the club had its own collection, and then were there like these DJs that had a real persona around? Because right now you have the DJ is like the priest in a church. Yeah. Was it the same back then?
Yeah, let's say now it's funny. You have the Scheldhapen, then you had Dennis Typhus, and it's still one of the Scheldhapen who has his label, and he now released a record from Pierre Elitaire, 100% Antwerp DJ. I remember him sitting in the shop with Daniel the Botanicus, also from this venue. Yeah. I was 12 years old, and his purse was a pigeon bag. He was like dressed in his pupitre with like a high hat on.
Okay.
So they had a persona, these DJs. And every DJ had his own persona linked to this club owner. Because it's like, I don't see the idea of playing the records I have to play, but the club owner and the DJ were in the same state of mind. So actually it was okay. Yeah. It was not like, I have to
It's not that you were being forced to, or you had the feeling you were being forced.
Club.
It's like a residency as well? Or?
Yeah, voilà, it's a bit like this.
Because you don't do it for every club, I think.
It grows like this, and you had a DJ who just was every day in the club. So
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds cool.
If you talk about Scheldhapen and 20 years ago, you had this vibe and this atmosphere. Right now, everybody has Shazam on his smartphone, and I can Shazam everything I hear at the moment. 20 years ago, when you went to Antwerp and started to play the drum and bass and everything, I guess that not every record you hear in a club is immediately available to you. You know what it is. How was it to hear records that you couldn't
very frustrating.
pinpoint? Yeah,
it was very frustrating. I remember going to parties and DJs would tape off their records, like literally record stores like USA Import or Wally's Groove World would have their own stickers that would hand out to DJs, and DJs would buy records that no one else knew about and put a sticker on it. So when we're in a DJing, someone would be like, try to get a peek. Yeah.
Were you one of the guys like in front of the booth, always like checking the records?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Yeah.
And then it turned around.
Yeah.
And then they came to look what you were playing.
Yeah. And I vividly remember DJs going, I'm not going to tell you. You know, what's that record? I'm not going to tell you. And you'd be like,
but it's a pity for the producers, because before I was also like this. Like, I don't want to share all my track ideas because I found this rare track. But then at the other side, you run away with the, how do you say it?
Credit.
The credit from the producer. And he is there at his home, he made it, and no one knows who he is. And I think he or she also
should get the credits for it.
Credits.
So, because was it different than back then? Wasn't it?
That's a funny thing, because back then you had guys like Café L'Anvers, Smos, rest in peace. They recorded their sets, so you had tape decks. And they started at 11 o'clock, they ended up at 8 o'clock in the morning, and they taped their sets with a cassette of 90 minutes. So they had like 5 cassettes of the whole night. And that's it. And you could buy those tapes.
Okay.
And those guys who bought those tapes for a lot of money, like one tape was unique. You had only one from 11 till 2. And from
so
2
they charged for it.
They paid. And then they came to the shop. It's like, I heard this song. I want to have this song. What is this song? So he's like, okay, give your tape. Play here and a bit further. This song. Okay, we listened. Yeah, we know it. We have it. Or we don't know. So that was like this track ID.
And when they said, we don't know, sometimes they just didn't want to tell?
We in the shop, no, because we want to sell it.
Oh yeah.
So we were more like, okay, if we didn't know for real, we went to the DJs like, hey, what is this track you were playing? Everybody's coming to ask us this track. And then we went, you have all the magazines, and then we went to the UK distributors, USA distributors. And then we ordered it, 50 copies, whatever, depending on how much people came. Like, hey, this track, how does it went? So
we would be in the record store singing to the record store owner.
Yeah, great.
You know this melody, you know that vocal, and then sing it again. You're like acting like an idiot. You'd have to do it. No other way.
All the time. Yeah, you have to go there.
But it worked out.
I kind of hated that era a little bit because of that, because you kind of had a pecking order in the record shops, and the DJs that. Actually, usually the DJs that spent the most money every week, they were first in line to get the new records.
Okay.
And you had to be at the shop at a certain point because the new tracks came in, the new promos came in, the white labels came in, and they only had like 2. So it's like those 5 guys, they were like, okay, I'll buy that. And he came in a half an hour late, everything would be gone.
We ordered it next week.
If you're talking Antwerp, you had Lowlands in Antwerp, which was a distribution company and also a record label and home to different other record labels, and that was a bbig joy in my life as a DJ back then. That I was at some point I became allowed to go there and just get the new white labels that came in, and that's the point in my career where I could go to Lowlands I'd call them up and be like, are they in yet? No, they're not in yet. Call them up 3 hours later. Are they in yet? Yeah, they're in. So I went there and they hand me the 5, 6, 7 to 10, 15 new tracks that were being released that week. And I didn't have to go to 4, 5, 6 record shops because Antwerp, Brussels, Ghent.
Yeah.
So really you had to travel around the country every Thursday or Friday afternoon.
It was actually the moment that you had the feeling, I made it.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, one of these record shops that we were just talking about that had the stickers, that still is a unique record shop in Antwerp. We're going to check out Wally's Groove World, a small little library of music knowledge in the heart of Antwerp City.
Wij zijn begonnen in 1995 en ik mocht beginnen in de kelder van USA Import, vroeger de bekendste winkel van Antwerpen. Die heeft mij laten de platenwinkel beginnen, maar ik mocht alleen tweedehands platen verkopen, dus dat was een uitdaging. Ik denk nu, in de nieuwe winkel zijn we meer ook naar mainstream gegaan, verkopen ook veel meer cassettes terug, singeltjes, reissues en heel veel early elektronische muziek verkopen ook. In de winkel kwamen vroeger heel veel DJ's die gewoon kwamen draaien in Antwerpen of in Brussel. Die kwamen dan langs de winkel. Nu is dat een beetje veranderd. Sinds dat internet is gekomen, heb je meer online diggers, meer verzamelaars die er komen. En nu zijn er toch terug veel jonge mensen en ook jongeren, de nieuwe generatie van DJ's, die toch wel terug vinyl willen draaien. En dus ja, dat is wel heel positief. Ik denk dat wij toch wel 50-50 zitten met de winkel en de online verkoop. Onze stok zijn we begonnen natuurlijk 25 jaar geleden. In het begin was er nog geen internet en dan bleef de verkopen en dan de overschot, dan deden wij sales en zo om alles weg te krijgen. Sinds dat Discogs er is, dat is wereldwijd is dat de bekendste site voor muziek te verkopen. Zijn we dat beginnen in te voeren. En nu zitten we al aan nummertje 200.000, dus je kunt we hebben al serieus wat plaatjes ingevoerd. Ik heb hier in de kelder een stok aan de overkant van de straat en dan het grootste deel staat bij mijn moeder, 3 verdiepingen of zoiets. Dus, en wij zitten nu aan een stok van 300.000 platen.
Today, Antwerp still is a place for music freaks. It attracts talents, musicians, DJs from all over the world to come and play here, but definitely to come and shop here as well, like in Wally's Groove World. But Hans, you just told me I was in Brussels and then I came to Antwerp 20 years ago. What was the main reason to come to Antwerp? Was it the vibe, the music, the atmosphere that attracted you?
We'd already started throwing parties both in Brussels and Antwerp, and it just made the move quite easy to come over here. And the fact that Antwerp is a relatively small city, it has a sort of a big city vibe. At the same time, it's very, very, very small. Mm-hmm. Made it very easy to move in and get acquainted and start a network and get to know everyone and everything.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's not the biggest city, Antwerp. It's a city where you really easily find people that are alike, that are interested in the same things. Like Lola, you're the youngest of us here, I think. Do you still have the impression?
Damn you.
You still have the impression that a lot of people from all over Belgium and even further international come to Antwerp because of they're interested in the scene and in what's happening here at the moment?
I think it's a bit less than in the 80s, 90s, but still, if I meet people in Ghent or Brussels or just in Belgium at a party or a promoter or other DJs, they're always like, oh, you come from Antwerp, you have nice record shop there, Wally's Groove World. It's a famous
It's a known name, yeah. Nikolai, you have, as I said in the beginning, the WeAreVarious radio. It's an online radio station with curators, selectors. Mm-hmm. It are people from all over Antwerp with interested in every kind of music that is possible. I said, is it like eclectic curation? Is it something that's unique to Antwerp?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, there was always the same thing you felt in the shop. You could do quite some different genres, and it was okay. Although I opened it up again, it was a bit area of my parents was open. Then you had a bit this era Kuni, Smalls was a bit more housey thing. Yeah. And then I tried to open it up again, like there's too much good music, and that's the same thing with the radio. And that's why, and at the time I bought this WeAreVarious.com.
Yeah.
And also bought, you had the file, the WAV file and the IFF file. Yeah, so I also had allinforfun.com, which I did away later. And so I kept that name because I think today, like 2 years ago, we started WeAreVarious again with Fred Nazen. I was at News Distribution in Ghent. We were talking with Ed and Kim, also legendary DJs in and around Antwerp, Brussels.
Yeah, and it is a good name because the name is WeAreVarious. It are various kind of music. Hans, we were just talking about international people coming to Belgium, to Antwerp. Every year you're hosting Rampage, the biggest drum and bass music festival on the globe, as I said in the beginning. That's a lot of people internationally coming to Antwerp during this weekend, right?
Yeah.
How many nationalities do you attract? Do you know this?
Something like 65, 70.
Whoa, okay. And how do these people know Rampage and Antwerp?
Well, drum and bass and dubstep are very big in Belgium. Mm-hmm. Very much under the radar. Very, very big, and have been for a long time. If we're talking about people coming to Antwerp or to Belgium for the music, in dubstep and drum and bass, that actually happens. that has happened a lot and it still happens, is that artists, specifically from the UK, literally move here and come to live here because the scene is here.
Yeah. You got some examples of DJs, producers that moved here?
Some of the guys of the Circus Crew that you might know, Flux Pavilion, Dr. P, Roxonics, those guys, they've lived here for a while.
Okay.
There's a drum and bass DJ called Easy. He lived here for years.
Okay.
There's another one called Premium. He moved here as well. So there's guys that have been living here or still live here.
And that's not only for the rent, I suppose.
And that's not only for the rent, although it helps.
What really attracts them to Antwerp?
Well, when dubstep first picked up, which was maybe 8 years ago, that proper big boom of dubstep, they just felt like we're here literally every weekend. Why aren't we just living here? And then some of them just made that move.
Actually moved here, yeah.
And just, we have, obviously not right now, but usually we have every weekend parties that attract 1,000 to 4,000 people in different spots in the country. And you might read and hear or, about techno or house parties or clubs are doing well and they're attracting lots of people. But you rarely ever read or hear about this kind of music because it's so genre specific. But it happens, and these guys, they make a living out of playing these parties, and they play more in Belgium than they play in the UK, although they're from the UK.
Yeah. Talking about Rampage, it's the biggest on the globe, as I said. But how many people is it?
It's 2 days in Sports Palace, and every day has 16,000 people.
Every day, 16,000 people. Yeah. Do you often get surprised faces from DJs coming off stage like, what was this?
Every hour. Literally every DJ that steps off stage does that face.
Yeah.
They do it twice, when they step on stage and when they step off stage.
Yeah. Wow, yeah. Rampage is a big festival in Belgium. Do you think that Antwerp is getting back to this? You say we have different underground clubs. Is it getting back to an own sound as well? Does Antwerp have an own sound in producers or in do you hear it from different producers, Lola?
Yeah, I think definitely Antwerp has a own sound. The people who, like I said, Bos and Onderstroom, it's like more electronic, experimental, and I really have the feeling the people here in Antwerp also really appreciate it. And for me at the beginning, I was only more into house and this classic Chicago, Detroit house with a vocal. Yeah. But Antwerp and these places made me learn to listen to or to open my ears for this other kind of music. And I think that's a really good thing.
Talking about a distinguished Antwerp sound, you have Borokov Borokov, 3 electro wizards that quickly became a well-known name in the Antwerp scene. Their goal is to stir up a crowd so wild that they are never going to sleep again. This is Borokov Borokov. Borokov Borokov, Antwerp Legacy in the making. And we have Antwerp Legacy in the making just next to us because one of the most promising artists elected by Red Bull Electropedia is here, Lola. Yeah, most promising artists. When you got that name and that title, how did you react?
I started crying because I got this phone call, I think only 8 months after my first gig ever. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, how, is this a joke or why did they choose me? Because I didn't know that so many people already knew what I was doing or were involved or listened to my sets or came to a party where I played. So it was really overwhelming, but of course it gave me a really big boost and it was big motivation to keep on doing what I was doing.
Yeah, Lola, what has happened since you earned this title?
I got my own radio show at Studio Brussels, which is really nice.
Yeah.
And I also signed with an agency in Berlin, an international booking agency with a lot of great international names like Ame, Dixon, Gert Jansson and stuff. I think 1.5 years ago, no one knew my DJ name.
How do you balance between being careful that it's not going too fast and taking the right opportunities?
Of course, I take all the chances and opportunities I get because I think it's something that's happening in a moment and you have to take the best to get the best out of it. Yeah, I don't want to go too fast because you also need the time to explore different kind of genres, to develop your own style of mixing, to learn mixing, to meet people, to create self-confidence about what you're doing.
Hans, you work with a lot of young artists as well. You think that young people have the right, how you say, enough time to grow before being put in the scene and being like, I say, before the big spotlight is turned on?
I think the answer is no, but what you're going to do?
And why is the answer no?
I don't think anyone's really capable to cope with going from 0 to 100 in a too short space of time. I mean, too much tension, too much fame, and too much spotlight. You know, no one's really meant for that kind of thing. And if you don't have the maturity to cope with it or to give that the right place in your life, and it will come back at you later on. And you know, you hear a lot of talk about mental health in dance music, and it's definitely something that will come into play. People that are creative usually are, I don't know, either they have something extra or they lack something that normal people have.
Yeah,
but
you say this out of experience? You've witnessed these things happening in the past?
I see that all the time. Yeah. And I don't think that anyone's really made to cope with that. So do people have enough time to grow if they go to instant stardom? Hell no. And I mean, that's the train wrecks that we see usually on the international stage. Usually are a result of that. And I see that happening on smaller scales. But at the same time, there are so many opportunities that you can go from 0, maybe not to 100, but to like 60 in a very short space of time. And that can be excellent for artists. And because of the internet, because of the amount of clubs, festivals, shows, radio stations, Mixcloud, SoundCloud, all these platforms, you can create an audience really quickly. And if you have something unique, you can stand out in many different ways and grab the attention of a lot of people.
Yeah, Nikolai, you've witnessed the scene from early on when you were a kid in the record shop of your parents. Do you think that the Antwerp scene, definitely at the moment, is supporting towards these new young artists? The people you know from back in the 80s, in the 90s, do they like what's happening at the moment, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. The base is always the same. I think all the people that were passionate at that time or passionate now, in 20, 30 years, they still will be in music or doing something behind the scenes of a radio station or a production house. So I think if once you recognize a sort of a talent or a humble person, because I think that's often the funny thing of a record shop is that you see people at night euphoric. in the week they come to the shop, they're different. And that's where you recognize people that are at night also quite centered. Then you feel like, okay, he has a potential he has a strength to hold the tension. And those people, they almost naturally grow in the scene, wherever the scene goes. If it's graphic designers, if it is music, video producers, all these people in sort of a cultural world came to a record shop.
Yeah.
And so obviously they will also back up the new young talents as a scout, as stagiaires, or whatever vision Lola has for her life in music or graphic. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
If you see it, you feel it, and you know that if you keep on doing it, that's
Just stay true to yourself and keep reminding why you're doing this.
And the thing is, Lola, you're often seen in Wally's Groove World. It's a place you know very good. Do you get the support and does the experience of Wally's Groove World help you sometimes? Do you get do they talk about it with you and?
Yeah, it's really nice because my friends that I have from high school or when I was younger, they like music, but they're not as much into music as I do. So for me, I know Koeni from Wally's Groove World because of my parents, and my parents weren't DJs, but they liked the music and they were in the scene. So I grew up with hearing it every day, and in the weekends we went to Wally's Groove World. I went there with my dad, so I heard the music. And when I got older and I started living on my own in Antwerp, then I passed by at Koeni's place, and then I asked him, I like this song, can you maybe recommend me something in this way, and then in this genre? And then he showed me some records, and then I met other DJs there. And for me, it was really nice to talk with people from my age, or even not from my age, but with the same passion and interests, and to help me look in a different perspective towards music. There's not only the vocal house or techno, and you have all these kind of different genres, and you can also combine them. It's not you only play techno or house, you can do more eclectic, and this eclectical way of thinking, I really learned this in Wally's Groove World.
Hans, when you're working with young talents, sometimes I suppose these people are bursting from enthusiasm. Is it sometimes hard for you to say, no, that's not a good opportunity? And are people sometimes mad at you for saying this?
Yeah. But you need to let people make mistakes as well. So, you can only tell them what you think, and that's what I do. And sometimes they take that advice and sometimes they don't. And sometimes they come back afterwards and like, all right, so that probably wasn't the best idea. And sometimes they're like, that turned out to be a good opportunity after all. So you were wrong. And that happens as well.
Well, in Antwerp, we have a lot of big festivals. We talked about Rampage. People internationally might know Tomorrowland as well. But Antwerp has a lot to offer. We have, since a few years, more and more small, little, cozy festivals that are genre-specific, but are mostly very open to everyone. So we had a talk with people of Contrair and Klub Dramatik.
So my name is Yves Massignani. I am a promoter from Antwerp. I represent Contrair. We have enjoyed parties and festivals and concerts for over 4 years now. So we started out as a pop-up club, and now we are enjoying parties and concerts and events everywhere. We are organizing seating concerts for 400 people, and we're very happy that we are back in our arena this year. So that's why we're standing in the middle. I would say Antwerp has always been a very good place for electronic music. We've benchmarked electronic music for a lot of years, going back to CJ Bolland, Café d'Anvers. Those are the true pioneers in clubbing and house music, let's say. And I think we still carry the fruits of those pioneers. We have a lot of promoters working very hard with a passion for the job. It even goes to Tomorrowland, which is a company based in Antwerp, which is the most valuable or the most avant-garde festival company in the world.
I'm Matthew.
Hello, my name is Jim.
And for 4 years now, we've been organizing Klub Dramatik Festival in Antwerp in Belgium.
Klub Dramatik is a festival in Antwerp, in Nachtigaalpark. And we've been doing it now for 4 years. The first year it was a festival for like 900 people, actually a festival made by friends, for friends, and now it's our 4th year we are doing it, and we really enjoy it.
So we have a very close community in Antwerp. It's not a super big city, which makes it really nice. The community and the scene is pretty close to each other. Everybody knows each other. A lot of artists combine their works with each other. There's a lot of connection, and that's something we want to show on the festival as well. So working with local talents and international talents combined. And we're very close to the city center actually, which is not very common for a festival.
But we also notice that the crowd is very loyal to the local festivals. So it's really nice to see that each year we see everybody coming back to the festival, and they really appreciate the small things and not only the big festivals abroad.
Yeah, so last year we introduced a part of the forest. The forest stage was the name, and it's actually completely in between the trees. It was a very exciting thing for people to see, like a new area added to the festival. And then during the last set with David Funk, we had a small electricity problem, and so all the lights went out, but the music kept on playing. And it was such an exciting moment to see everybody take their phones out and the whole forest transformed into like a self-sustainable light show. It was really nice to see like that.
Antwerp, it's, as we've said before, it's a huge scene with a huge network all over the globe. People that came here, that went here for record shopping, that went here for playing gigs, playing live, DJs. And one of these people that came to Antwerp, that knows the Antwerp music scene, is JD Twitch. Hello, JD.
Hello there.
Hey, I can say Keith, right?
Keith's fine.
Keith,
yes, right.
Hey, Keith, tell us a bit about yourself. So you're a DJ, you're a promoter. What else we need to know?
So I started DJing in 1987, and I DJ now as part of a duo called Optimo. And Optimo is also a promotion. We put on events, do remixes, record label, and we're up to recently we were, of course, touring DJs.
Okay, touring DJs. Optimo, it played a huge role in your music career, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's what I've done for the last 23 years, yes.
Yeah. You've been to Belgium a few times?
Many, I think maybe 50 or 60 times I've been to Belgium, yes.
Wow, okay. And Antwerp is a city you've known as well.
I've been to Antwerp, yes. I first came to Belgium in the late 1980s, 1989, because I was fascinated by New Beat, and which I discovered through being into bands like Front 242. And I was obsessed with all things Belgian, and these New Beat records started appearing in record shops in Scotland, and I became obsessed with this music. It was also my entry point. I was becoming interested in electronic music and dance music from around the world, but I think because I already had this love for Belgian bands like Front 242, a split second, I was kind of primed to like this music. Mm-hmm. And I came over, there was no internet, there was no way to discover what was going on. No one was writing about it in any media in the UK. So I thought the only way I'm going to find out about this is to come to Belgium. Yeah. So I came in summer of 89, and I made a trip to Antwerp because I'd heard there was this famous record shop.
Did you find what you were looking for?
I certainly did. I remember I came home, I had to ship a box of records back because I couldn't carry all the records that I bought at the Shop USA Import in Antwerp.
How was the vibe back then in Antwerp? Do you remember that it was something special to go here and to experience the music you liked so much in the scene itself?
Right across Belgium. So, I went to Ghent, I went to Brussels, I came to Antwerp, and you could feel this energy in there. You would hear this New Beat music coming from, every shop, every bar, every cafe, which at that point, nowadays you hear dance music everywhere. It's embedded in our culture. At that point, you really didn't. So where I came from, it was very unusual to hear electronic music outside of a club. But it was obvious that this thing had gone completely mainstream across Belgium. There was like smiley faces everywhere. Everyone was walking by wearing these smiley face T-shirts. I think this must be the point where the kind of New Beat had reached its peak before it then kind of went into decline. But it was really incredible seeing this mainstream culture for something that to me seemed quite an obscure kind of music.
Yeah, because what made it so distinctive that it could only be made in Belgium and not in, so to say, Scotland?
I think because Belgium had such a rich, deep history of making electronic music already, it was kind of primed to make this music. It had a very sophisticated club scene for all kinds of electronic music. So this thing was very unique. It could only have come from Belgium. It was this very slow, hypnotic, grinding, sexual sound, unlike any form of dance music from anywhere in the world. I mean, it was truly unique. There was house music was developing, techno, but this was a distinctly Belgian sound.
Have you kept following the Belgian scene, the Antwerp music scene in the last few years?
I mean, I think part of me just loves everything that comes out of Belgium. So after that, I went and became obsessed with R&S records and the kind of Belgian rave techno thing. And then, yes, I followed it right through. Later on in the 90s, there was a label from Antwerp called Wonka, and then which kind of morphed into Wally's Groove World. So I've always followed what's been going on in the Belgian dance scene, either releases or gig-wise, DJ-wise, shop-wise, yes.
Yeah, you were just talking about a certain vibe and atmosphere that was around in Antwerp, in USA Import. You've been to Antwerp, what was it, last year, 2 years ago, for festival? You still have this...
Came last summer for Klub Dramatik, which, I mean, we every year maybe play 50, 60 festivals, and that one was, I think out of last year, would have been in my top 3. It was incredible.
How
loved it.
How was it in the top 3 of your festivals?
Yeah, it just everything about it. You could tell it was done with love. It wasn't a huge festival. It was just the right size. It was very personal. The atmosphere was one of the best gigs I've ever had in Belgium, just for the crowd reaction, the location, everything about it. It was perfect. Yes.
Yeah. You've been in the scene for over 30 years then already, if I do quick math. But we have some young DJs in Antwerp at the moment. We have somebody in the room at the moment. What would be your advice as a I would say a senior DJ?
I think my advice is always just stay true to your passion and try and have your own. I mean, most DJs know this, have your own thing going on, but I think some DJs want to emulate other DJs that get caught up in the success of what other DJs are doing. I think, follow your own path and stay true to that. And, it's persistence. If you keep at it, you will eventually develop your own thing and your own following in your own way. And I mean, I can kind of show I've done that and I've managed to do it for a very long time.
Okay. Well, Keith, thank you. I think that's the right advice. We just talked about this, right?
It's actually exactly the same as what I said about it. Yeah.
Well,
that's how I think about it too. So.
Perfectly. If you say the same thing in 30 years, everything will be okay, Lola.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah.
And I succeeded.
Okay, Keith, thank you so much.
Oh, nice speaking to you. Take care.
See you sometime soon in Belgium. Bye-bye. All right, JD Twitch. Lola, he has the same to say as you did. So that's funny. Somebody who's been in the scene for 30 years, but I guess that everybody is.
And she already has that wisdom, so kudos.
Did you have the wisdom back then?
That wasn't even the question back then. There wasn't a career to be had. There wasn't an industry. It was the only thing that you could do was do what you love. There were no promises. There was no money. There were no big festivals. None of that was there. So when I started, it was just like me fumbling around with some records with some friends, and then some people came and watched us do that and listened to us doing that. So that's it. There was no knowledge to be had. There was no advice to be given. There were no paths to choose. It was just do that. That's it.
DIY, do it yourself, and just go your own way. Yeah. Hans, Lola, Nikolai, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And hope to see you somewhere soon in a small, dirty venue somewhere in Antwerp after Corona, after COVID. But with a top-notch sound system.
We're gonna arrange it.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you for watching the Day Talk. And if you want to follow This is Antwerp, you go check out the Instagram and the Facebook page for everything Antwerp.